The Adulting with ADHD podcast is not a substitute for medical advice. Please see a medical professional if you think you have ADHD or have ADHD and need additional assistance. For podcast archives, please visit patreon.com/adultingwithadhd. This is the Adulting with ADHD podcast, self-empowerment for people with ADHD. Today I'm excited to have with me Farah Jamil, executive and ADHD coach and consultant. She is the founder of Muslim ADHDers, Interfaith ADHDers, and Executive ADHDers. Welcome to the show, Farah.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah. It's great to be here with you.
I'm going to read your bio a little bit so the listeners can get to know you, and then I'm going to kick it over to you. Farah is an Ivy League educated health executive, an executive coach, ADHD coach, consultant, and professional speaker. Farah didn't see anyone like her talking about ADHD, so she hosted the first Muslim ADHDers virtual summit to start the conversation about ADHD, productivity, health, wellness, and faith. Farah is also a professional fellow at the Institute of Coaching at McLean, Harvard Medical School affiliate, and a top 10 presenter at the 2023 Coaching.com pre-summit for her webinar on neurodiversity, navigating ADHD in the workplace. I love it. Welcome to the show again.
Thank you so much.
We were talking earlier, workplace challenges being just always an issue, but it just feels like it just keeps getting more difficult. And so today we're going to be talking about surviving today's job market as a neurodivergent. First off, can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, particularly your journey as a community builder for Muslim ADHDers?
Sure. So I was diagnosed with ADHD as an adult, and that was quite the eye-opener because here I am working away, and I would have these struggles such as procrastination, time blindness, sometimes difficulty getting started with tasks or finishing tasks. But honestly, I was like, oh, I know, I'm sure there's lots of people who go through this too, but it was getting to the point where it was getting more and more challenging, and I just couldn't figure out why. So when I got my diagnosis, it really gave me that pivotal point in my life where I had to pause and reflect. It's okay. Now I know that I have ADHD, and yay, it explains a lot. Mm-hmm. But then I had to really reflect on all the things that I had gone through. And I went through that 7 stages of grief where you're bargaining, and then you're like trying to make sense of it. And then you're probably going through some anger and other emotions. And then you're trying to settle back down again. So it was quite challenging in that respect, but it was also very pivotal because I finally was able to see, this explains why during my career I had a lot of great ups and a lot of great successes. And I could see how my ADHD really helped with that. But unbeknownst to me, I was having a lot of these downs as well. And it was just so frustrating not to know. And in the workplace, there were very few people, if anyone, who looked like me as a woman of color, wearing a hijab. So I was very visibly Muslim. And there were no other leaders who looked like me. I had a team of people reporting to me. I was reporting to senior leaders, all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
So then as an executive myself, I didn't see a lot of people who look like me. And now knowing that I have ADHD, I didn't see a lot of people who look like me talking about ADHD, especially in the workplace and as an executive. And so that led to my next pivotal moment in my life. Before my ADHD diagnosis, I actually trained as an executive coach. And it was such a privilege because I got to work not only as a health executive, but also as an executive coach in-house. Mm-hmm. And so I got to do one-on-one coaching and group coaching with leaders across my organization, which was fantastic. Yeah. And then when I got my ADHD diagnosis, I heard that there was such a thing as ADHD coaching. And I was like, oh, I know the power of executive coaching. I see it when I get to coach these great leaders in my organization. let me take a look at this. And in typical ADHD fashion, I'm like, I'm going to train as an ADHD coach too.
Yeah.
and and that was amazing because I really got to learn so much more about the brain and about procrastination, time blindness, all the things that I had struggled with before my diagnosis and knowing about it. So now I call myself being bilingual in executive and ADHD.
Yeah.
And I get to coach people and consult with people from around the world, whether they're executives looking to improve their leadership skills, whether there are those who want to better navigate their ADHD and better understand their ADHD, or for those who overlap, executives who have ADHD and wanting to have a coach or a consultant who understands what that means. Because being a woman of color, being a leader, and having ADHD, being neurodivergent, that's quite the intersectionality.
Yeah.
So it's been quite the journey.
Yeah. In your experience, what strengths do neurodivergents bring to today's job market, and how can they leverage that?
Research has actually been showing that there are quite a few advantages. So Harvard Business Review has several articles on this, how they are seeing that teams that have a mixture of neurotypical and neurodivergent staff,
Mm-hmm.
they tend to do better at problem solving
Hmm.
because you've got people who have different ways at looking at a problem. And so they're being more effective and efficient in problem solving.
Yeah.
And for me, I think perhaps that has to do with less groupthink.
Yeah.
Because when you've got people who have different ways of looking at things, you are going to have far more innovation. You're going to have people who can look at a problem and tackle it in a way that really meets and exceeds the needs of the organization. And research is showing this more and more. We've also got organizations who even have dedicated supports and maybe even programs who are neurodivergent. So for example, EY, Ernest and Young,
Mm-hmm.
a huge company, they actually have centers for neurodivergent excellence.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so for anyone who is maybe thinking they're looking for an employer or just maybe some more ideas on what would be a good career fit for them, check out
Mm-hmm.
EY Centers for Neurodiverge. I believe it's neurodivergent or neurodiverse excellence.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity that more and more organizations are seeing. They're seeing that it may not be in their best interest to do things the way they've always done it, where they expect everyone to conform.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're truly looking for innovation, then why are you asking everyone to conform in the exact same way? Instead, they're now recognizing that when they're opening themselves up to differences in how people think, process information, etc., they are really now leveraging the best of people instead of forcing them to be or do things in a certain way. So it's really heartening for me to
Mm-hmm.
see that you've got these great organizations and you've got research that is proving to people and organizations of the value of having staff who are neurodivergent.
Yeah, that sounds like such a good resource. I can't wait to go check it out. It's nice to see that they're starting to collect data on that because that definitely rings true in my experience as well. That is so good to hear. I didn't realize that.
I'm happy
Um,
to send you some links so that you can share it with your listeners.
yeah, that would be great. If you're listening to this show, you get how stress and overwhelm can wreak havoc on your life, and how sometimes the issue runs deeper than that. That's where ADHD Online comes in. They offer a thorough, clinically backed assessment that not only checks for ADHD, but also screens for anxiety, depression, and more. To save $40 and to get on the path to relief now, visit ADHDonline/adulting with ADHD and use promo code ADultingADHD40. We had talked about one of the common pitfalls neurodivergence can run into is being too passive in their careers. Can you speak to that a little bit and talk about how you're trying to get your clients to have a more strategic stance?
Absolutely. And this was one of the things when I had paused and reflected after my diagnosis, I actually could not believe how passive I was in my own career. Now, that may sound odd. Farah, you're an Ivy League graduate, you're a health executive, you're doing some really good work. What do you mean that you've been passive in your own career? It doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I was passive in the sense where I think I allowed other people to tell me what I could and couldn't do. Oh, you should probably just do this, or you should probably go into this area, or probably do that. I'm like, okay, sure. Sounds interesting enough.
Right.
So, in some ways, I did luck out where I was able to, even though I was passive, I was able to go into areas that did genuinely interest me. However, I fell into that trap that I hear a lot from other people, executives, leaders, anyone who's like wanting to make some strides in their career. And I fell into that trap of if people just see me working hard, that should be enough for them to know that I want a promotion.
Yeah.
And yet, I was seeing other people who maybe didn't have as much experience as me getting promoted over me. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why are they getting
Yeah.
promoted over me? And it was simply because they were really good at being proactive and being very clear as to their goals. So they would tell people, they would tell the right people that I'm looking to get promoted, or I'm looking like this is my plan for my career. This is what are the skills that I've developed, and these are the skills I'd like to further develop. What do I need to do to get there? And so they did a great job of advocating for themselves. And before they could do that, though, they had to be clear. So they were clear on their goals. They were able to advocate for themselves. And then they were able to get there. Because guess what? No one's a mind reader,
Yeah.
right? Just because
Right.
someone sees you working hard, they may think, oh, look, she's enjoying that work. So she's probably happy where she is. If you
Yeah.
don't say it, then no one's going to know it. So that was a huge aha moment for me. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I did that to myself. How is it that I just assumed that people would know what I wanted
Mm.
because I guess I thought that they were mind readers. And so this is where I actually developed the FAN framework, FAN. And this is how you
Mhm.
create fans in the workplace. And this is something that I've taught to many of my clients for this very reason.
Mhm.
So in FAN, F is focus on the facts. What are the facts of the situation? And what is it that you really want? What is it that you really need? But you have to be clear. What are those facts? And if you're not clear about something, then we move on to A. Ask, don't assume.
Yeah.
Because especially as an ADHDer, I am really good at making assumptions
Oh my
and
God,
building a
me too.
whole narrative that may not have much fact attached to
Mhm.
it. It could just be based on my own assumptions and emotions at the time. So instead, we ask, we don't assume.
Mhm.
And then N in FAN is no one's a mind reader. Go
Mm.
figure. And I always say to people, unless you're like me, who's a fan of Star Trek, as far as we know, we don't have any betazoids who can read minds. And so if you're not a betazoid who can read minds, and if you don't work with a betazoid who can read minds, then guess what? No one's a mind reader. You have to tell people what you want and need. So with that FAN framework, this is how you can be more proactive and less passive in the workplace.
I really love that. And it makes me think of my own experience. And I remember when I finally identified this issue of being passive, it was that, oh, I can be proactive. Like it's not, I wasn't even aware that was an option. That's how it wasn't even on the table. And I love that your work is encouraging people to bring that to the table. That is so cool. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Whether you're neurotypical or neurodivergent, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, we're all human. We
Mm-hmm.
want to find the right structures and supports to help us be our best. And so I always say to my clients, whether they are my executive clients or my ADHD clients or both, I always say to them, we have to work from the inside out. You have to start with self awareness. What do you want and need? Because if you don't know, no one else is going to know.
Yeah.
So once you have that self awareness, then that could lead to self empowerment. Because now that you have clarity, you're empowered to better understand where you want to go from here. And then that leads to self advocacy, because
Mm-hmm.
then you're able to advocate for yourself. And that is, I think, crucial for anyone. And
Yeah.
I say to my clients, at the end of the day, no one's going to care more about your career than you. Doesn't matter how many mentors you have or how much of a loving family or friends that you have. That's great. That's wonderful. But at the end of the day, no one's going to care more about your career than you. So if you don't have that self awareness, then it's going to be very difficult for you to be empowered and to advocate for yourself. So start from the inside out.
That is some hard won wisdom. I can tell.
Oh, yes.
I've earned it too. And it is so true. And I love it. Let's talk about burnout for a minute. So, what strategies have you found to be helpful these days for you or your clients?
So for those who have ADHD, something that we have as a challenge is overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
And this can be because of what I call the 3 Ps: procrastination, perfectionism, and paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
So there are times when we procrastinate on something for whatever reason. Maybe it's boring, or maybe we're just not sure how to go about doing it. And then that can lead to perfectionism. It's, if I'm going to do the thing, that it has to be done perfectly, right? And that takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And because of now that energy, and now we've got this overwhelm going, we're paralyzed. We've got that paralysis, whether it's analysis paralysis or decision paralysis.
Mm.
So those 3 Ps can lead to so much mental, physical, emotional, and even spiritual overwhelm. You don't have to necessarily be religious or spiritual, even if you have any kind of philosophy for yourself. If you live your life by a certain philosophy, it can be exhausting when you are overwhelmed,
Yeah.
when you don't have that clear direction. Or it could be that you're doing something, but it's not the most efficient or effective way of doing it. So you're exhausting yourself that way. Or you're in a very toxic environment. There could be all sorts of reasons that can lead to burnout. And for someone who has ADHD, it can be all the above, one of the above, two of the above, it doesn't matter. But when you have that overwhelm, that can lead to burnout faster. It can even be stronger. It's going to be different for each of us because we all have different experiences. We all have different lived experiences. We all have different work experiences. Again, it really gets down to that self awareness, because each of us experience our limits in different ways. And so my burnout may look different from yours, and your and my burnouts may look different from someone else. So we need to always start with the inside out. What is it that you need so that you don't burn out? And those typically I call, and I think many of us call it, healthy boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
When we don't have those clear and healthy boundaries, we're going to get burned out, because when we don't know what our boundaries are, then others don't know our boundaries. So they're going to keep encroaching on our boundaries, and we're going to keep letting them. And when that happens, you get burnt out.
Yeah.
And again, it can be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual burnout. So we got to have that self-awareness, and we need to be clear for ourselves first about what is it that make up our healthy boundaries, because those healthy boundaries are there for a reason, so that we can be healthy, so that we can be our best selves, and that we can help others. And I know it's a cliche, but I love this cliche. And I use this with all of my clients. It's the same thing that they talk about on airplanes
Yeah.
about the oxygen mask. What do they always say, Sarah? That when you're on a plane and if the oxygen mask comes down, what are the instructions that we're given?
Got to put on your mask first.
Yes. It doesn't say put the mask on to the person next to you, even if it's your loved
Mhm.
one. No, they specifically say you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. And the reason for that is if you were to put the mask on everyone else around you first, no matter how much you love them, or even perfect strangers, because you want to be a good person, you want to be a good
Yeah.
Samaritan, whatever the case may be, well, guess what's going to happen? You're going to suffocate, and you're not going to be able to help anybody, including yourself. But when we have that healthy boundary, when we know that we need to put that oxygen mask on ourselves first, then we can help everybody because we're helping ourselves first. And it's not selfish. Self-care is not selfish. And part of that self-care is having those healthy boundaries so that we can be our best selves and bring our best selves to the world.
I am so glad these conversations are happening because it just seems like this should be a required curriculum moving forward.
I
Thank you
love
so
it. That
much.
would be great for everybody. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing this information. I was furiously taking notes while you were talking. This is so tactical and helpful. Where can listeners follow your work?
Oh, great question. So I am on LinkedIn. There's quite a few Farah Jamils, but if you see the one where it says that I'm an executive coach and an ADHD coach and a consultant, they should be able to find me there. My first name is F as in flower, ARAH, last name Jamil, JAMIL. So I'm on LinkedIn. Always love to connect with others. And I also have my website, farahjamil.com. They can find me there as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. I really appreciate it.
Okay. I am going to stop the recording, but not go away.
Okay.